Thank you, Mr. Mulvaney. Let me ask, we hear a theme that spending cuts will endanger this recovery, however weak it is. But as economists, you're aware of a body of work of fiscal consolidation looking at our competitors around the world who in the last 40 years took on various forms of fiscal consolidation, as many of you mentioned. And in 26 instances, they grew their economy in the short term as well. They spent less, controlled their fiscal policy. They owed less as a nation, reduced their debt, mainly through targeted spending cuts, and grew the economy in the short term as well. Canada is a great example. Hobbling along at less than 1% growth, high debt levels. They went on a conscious effort to reduce their spending, lowered their country's debt by around 12 percentage points. Their economy went to 3.5%, averaged that for more than a decade. Sweden did the same. New Zealand had even more interesting experience along the same way. So, to this theme that if we control spending, it will harm this economic recovery, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Hassett, do you believe that to be the case? Do you think Congress is capable of such severe spending cuts that it will endanger this remarkable recovery?
I don't think so. Based on, say, 2011 agreement, which was good, budget authority has shifted from plus 39 to minus 39 in the discretionary accounts, but outlays just down by less than a billion. So that's an example, I think, of why it's so hard. I would say, though, quite frankly, I think that the credibility is very important to make sure it does have positive effects. Willy-nilly, unpredictable changes in government policy is not good. It makes for more uncertainty. So everything that you can do to say that what we're doing is part of this long-term path, caps on spending, tying it to debt increases, put it in legislation, everything that can make it a credible, believable deal will make it more powerful in a positive sense and mitigate the negative things that Dr. Stone's referring to. The credibility, to be able to plan for the future, to know that, well, this is what government is doing, at least it's clearer now than it was. They're getting their house in order. That will enable businesses to begin to expand. So I put a great deal of emphasis on credibility, and it's going to be gradual, almost for sure. That's the nature of the politics. It will be gradual. And I think to some extent the statements that it's going to hurt the economy if we go too fast, if it's too draconian, I don't think that helps the discussion, because it puts up this thing which is like it'd be like a straw man. That's not where we're going. Look at my charts. The charts don't have draconian. Even with the most ambitious budget, there's not draconian changes we're talking about.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Hassett?
Yeah, Mr. Brady, one way I like to think about the potential scale of the near-term effects is that in present value, maybe we guesstimate all the things that we're short. It's something like $100 trillion if we just tried to, in present value, let Medicare run the way it's planned and so on. If businesses expect to have to pay their normal share of tax increases to cover that $100 billion, then we're talking a tax liability in present value that's bigger than trillion. I was 100 trillion, and it's bigger than 10 trillion. It's maybe bigger than 10% of that, which is closing in on the market cap for U.S. firms. And so the scale of the tax shortfall is humongous, and it's really large relative to the scale of U.S. corporations. And so, maybe they don't think that we're going to cover the whole thing with tax increases, but if they think even that half of it is going to be covered with tax increases, then that's a significant liability, implicit liability that's on their books. And if you do something to relieve that, then that's good news today. You could set off, investment boom today. And so I think that the scale of the problem is such that this expectational effect that I talked about could be really large if it was credible, if the spending deal was accompanied by maybe some very clever new Graham-Redmond style rules that made people believe that these spending cuts are there to stay.
Thank you, Doctor. And I would point out, we often talk, sometimes up here people will look to the Clinton years as the golden years of the economy. But I would point out that President Clinton, working with the Republican Congress, from 1993 to 2000, lowered the debt to GDP ratio from over 21% to around 18%, and the economy grew as we did it. So shrinking, spending less, owing less, can spur this economy very much in the right direction. Senator Lee.